Have you ever had that feeling that you're just constantly being taken for granted? Like people are always crossing your lines no matter how much you seem to give? Well, today we're going to dig into a quiet but really powerful truth about why that might be happening. And honestly, it might not be what you think. Okay, this right here, this is the core idea we're exploring. And yeah, it can be a pretty tough pill to swallow. But this isn't about blame, not at all. It's about understanding a really fundamental pattern that ends up shaping our relationships. So let's break down what that actually means. So here's the thing. Life has this funny way of reflecting back to us the agreements we've made with ourselves. The people who cross our boundaries, they're not always trying to be malicious. A lot of the time, they're just responding to the signals we're sending out about our own self-worth. And that brings us to our first big idea, the mirror effect. Think about it like this. Every time we postpone our own needs or ignore our own limits, we're basically sending out a subconscious signal to the world that says, hey, my boundaries, they don't really matter. And people, often without even realizing it, will step right into that space we failed to protect. So if it starts with us, why on earth do we do it? Well, it turns out this whole pattern usually kicks off internally, long before anyone else even enters the picture. And it often comes down to one of four core reasons. First up is one that so many of us can relate to, the simple desire to be liked. This is that classic people-pleaser pattern, right? It's a habit that often gets wired into us when we're really young, all stemming from this deep, deep need for approval. If you learned early on that love was conditional, you probably also learned that keeping the peace and just saying yes was the safest way to stay connected. So even now, as adults, we might find ourselves completely overriding our own exhaustion just to avoid rocking the boat. This was the exact fear for a woman we'll call Anya. She showed up to therapy just completely burned out, feeling like nobody ever showed up for her. Her core belief was that saying no would mean disappointing the people she cared about. So she just never did. And that leads us right into the second reason, a really profound fear of abandonment. For a lot of people, setting a limit feels like taking this huge, terrifying risk, the risk of losing someone important to you. This fear gets especially intense with the people we love or depend on. So to avoid that potential loss, what do? We abandon our own needs first. We just bend and we compromise over and over until we finally hit a breaking point. Now, the third reason is a little more subtle. It's this pride we take in our own resilience. We tell ourselves, oh, I can handle it. And we start to confuse our ability to just endure discomfort with actual emotional health. We end up wearing self-sacrifice almost like a badge of honor. And finally, the fourth reason is actually really simple, a lack of practice. I mean, if you grew up in a home where your needs were always minimized or your privacy wasn't respected, the whole idea of a healthy boundary can feel totally foreign, maybe even selfish. You can't practice a skill you were never even taught. So how do these internal patterns actually create our external reality? It happens through something we can call the silent contract. See, in every single relationship, we sign this unspoken agreement, not with words, but with our actions. Every time we let a comment slide, or we rationalize being treated poorly, or we stay quiet just to keep the peace, we are signing that silent contract. We are literally teaching people how to treat us. And you know what? They are quite faithfully following our instructions. But here's the good news. These contracts can be rewritten. Setting boundaries is a skill, and just like any other skill, it's something you can absolutely learn. So let's look at how we can start building a new way of operating. Okay, but first, a really crucial truth to remember. This is going to feel uncomfortable at first. Of course it will. If your nervous system is wired for self-abandonment, then honoring yourself is going to feel strange, even wrong. But that discomfort, that's your brain learning a new, healthier path. It's a sign of growth. So, here's a practical guide. Number 1, start small. Seriously, maybe just by not answering a text right away. 2, be clear and direct and don't apologize. That doesn't work for me is a complete sentence. 3rd, expect some pushback. It's totally normal. 4, hold the line, calmly and consistently. And finally, number 5, celebrate every single small win. Each one builds that muscle of self-trust. Let's look at another quick story. A man we'll call Dylan. He just kept attracting partners who took everything from him. He eventually realized his overgiving wasn't even about them. It was about this deep-seated feeling of not being enough.
Healing that core wound was the absolute key to changing his relationships entirely.
And this is exactly how our internal state acts as a filter for our relationships. See, when we're soft on boundaries, we tend to attract people who lean on us. When we're unclear, we attract people who exploit that ambiguity. But as we heal, as we strengthen our boundaries, we start attracting a completely different kind of person, one who actually values respect and clarity. This is really the ultimate goal here. Boundary work isn't about building walls to keep other people out. It's about creating a safe internal space where you can finally keep yourself in, aligned with your values, your truth, your well-being. And when you make that commitment to no longer abandon yourself, the shifts are profound. You stop over-explaining your choices. You stop accepting the bare minimum in relationships. You stop making yourself small just to keep the peace. You start treating yourself like a priority. This was the biggest lesson Anya learned. As she started saying no more often, the people who only valued her for what she could provide, they just started to fade away. But the ones who genuinely cared for her, they respected her new limits, and they actually drew closer. It's a completely natural realignment. Life is absolutely going to test your new boundaries. It'll send you the same scenarios that used to break you. But these aren't punishments. They're opportunities. It's life asking you, hey, are you ready to choose yourself this time? And as we wrap up, if you only take one single thing away from all of this, let it be this. There is one core responsibility that is entirely 100% yours. You cannot control how other people act or how they react, but you are completely responsible for the boundaries you choose to set and maintain for yourself. And right there, in that responsibility, that's where you'll find your true power to change everything.